Hi students, welcome to week 7 of the course. So this week is a really nice week because it's your last week of looking at Una Marson, and you're going to be thinking about her in quite a different context this week. We looked in the last 2 weeks at ideas of migration, ideas of identity, and this week we're going to focus on the specific themes of gender and love. So we're going to be thinking about how Marson was a feminist, if she was a feminist, and you're going to be thinking about what to be a feminist meant in the 1930s, when the term really wasn't in current critical usage as it is now. So the first thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to look over the poems from this week. We have I Cannot Tell, we have Love's Lament, and then we have To Wed or Not to Wed. And you might have realised from the title of To Wed or Not to Wed that this is a play, of course, on to be or not to be from Shakespeare's play Hamlet. So I'm going to be asking you a few questions about these poems, and I'm going to be giving you a little bit of context. But really, what I want you to think about when you read each one is, who is the speaker? It's kind of unfashionable to just keep saying Marson's the speaker, because we don't really know that Marson is the speaker. So beware of that when you do analyse the poems. But I'm going to give you some critical context as well. If you look at the Cooper essay from this week, she starts to kind of note how Marson foregrounds certain ideas of gender. And I want you to think about how she does that in these poems. I mean, when you read the poems, it's really obvious that she's talking about gender and love. I want you to think about how women are presented in the poems as almost inherently disenfranchised or at a disadvantage when it comes to love, relationships, marriage, that sort of thing. So that's the context for this week. And you'll actually notice this lecture is slightly shorter than the others. This is because you have a discussion post for this week that I think will take considerable time. There's 3 questions, but they are quite complex. So don't leave your discussion post to the last day, okay? Now, in terms of future planning, next week you have a lovely lecture on comparative literature, because if you remember, your next assignment is your essay. And I'm going to introduce you to the essay next week. I'm going to give you lots of pointers in your assignment brief, but I'd like you to start thinking this week, how can we begin comparing Brenner and Marson? And obviously you're going to be doing that through the framework of kind of theories of global literature, ideas of what it means to be in the global south. And something I want you to think about as you think about these ideas is, nobody ever said that the global south's a good term. I certainly haven't said that. And I want you to start thinking, is it an appropriate term? Can we really say that these wonderful works are part of the global south? Surely to use such a term implies some sort of disenfranchisement of places like Jamaica and Mexico. Is this right? Obviously not. So how do we address that? So I'm going to be having you do a wonderful reading by René Wellec. He's a French critical theorist next week on what comparative literature is. Because that's what you're going to be doing here. You're comparing Marson to Brenner. But again, don't worry about that for this week. You do have a spare week. The week after next, you've actually got a week out. You're going to be consulting with me if you want to. We're going to be talking about essays. That's where you get a little bit of one-on-one time with me to talk about what you're doing. So have a look at the poems. If you want to, go back and compare them to the previous poems. That might help you. And that's pretty much it, okay? Your discussion post is due this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. It will lock after then, so don't be late, okay? Wonderful. As usual, any queries, problems, issues, life stories, maybe not the latter, just send them to me in an email form, okay?